Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading in the 8th canto, the demigods regain the heavenly planets, and it's chapter 23. 23, and this is 11 and 12, both. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Shukadeva Swami, he said, accompanied by Bali Maharaj, my dear King Parikshit, Prahlad Maharaj, the master of all the chiefs of the demons, took the Supreme Lord's order on his head with folded hands. After saying yes to the Lord, circumambulating him and offering him respectful obeisances, he entered the lower planetary system known as Sutala. There's no purport, so we'll read the next verse. Ataho Shana Samrajan Harir Narayano Nike Asiknam Rudvicham Madhye Sarasi Brahmavadinam. Translation. Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana. Therefore he addressed Shuka Acharya, who was sitting nearby in the midst of the assembly with the priests, Brahma, Hota, Udgata, and Advaru. Oh, Maharaj Parikshit, these priests were all Brahmavadis. They were followers of the Vedic principles for performing sacrifices. So after Prahlad Maharaj, Bali Maharaj left for Sutala, then Hari Narayana, he addressed Shuka Acharya, who was the spiritual master of Bali Maharaj, who was sitting nearby in the midst of the assembly of other Brahmanas, who were all Brahmavadis. They were strict followers of the Vedic principles for performing sacrifices. So now the Lord wants to speak directly to Shuka Acharya and to his associates. Also no purport, so we'll read the next one until we get to Srila Prabhupada's purport. Brahman santano shishyasya karma chidram vitandata yattat karmasu vaishamyam brahma drishtam samam bhade. Translation. This is the Lord speaking to Shuka Acharya. He said, "O best of the Brahmanas, Shuka Acharya, please describe the fault or discrepancy in your disciple, Bali Maharaj, who engaged in performing sacrifices. This fault will be nullified when judged in the presence of qualified Brahmanas." Purport by Srila Prabhupada. When Bali Maharaj and Prahlad Maharaj had departed for the planet Sutala, Lord Vishnu asked Shuka Acharya what the fault was in Bali Maharaj, for which Shuka Acharya had cursed him. It might be argued that since Bali Maharaj had now left the scene, how could his faults be judged. In reply to this, Lord Vishnu informed Shukracharya that there was no need for Bali Maharaja's presence, for his faults and discrepancies could be nullified if judged before the Brahmanas. As will be seen in the next verse, Bali Maharaj, he had no faults. Shukracharya had unnecessarily cursed him. Nonetheless, this was better for Bali Maharaj. Being cursed by Shukracharya, Bali Maharaj was deprived of all of his possessions, with the result that the Supreme Personality of Godhead favored him for his strong faith in devotional service. Of course, a devotee is not required to engage in fruitive activities. As stated in the Shastra, Savahanam Achutidya, from Srimad Bhagavatam 4:31-14. By worshipping Achyuta, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one satisfies everyone. Because Bali Maharaj had satisfied the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there were no discrepancies in his performance of sacrifices. Om Jnana Shalakaya Chakshumalitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Gaur Govinda Swami Namane. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachane Nirvishesha Shunyavani Pastitana Deshatane. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasudeva Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So again the verse today. Shri Shukha Uvacha Agyam Bhagavato Rajan Haradho Valinasaha Badham Iti Amala Pragyo Murti Adhaya Kritanjali Parikram Yadi Purusham Svabasura Chamupati Panatastat Anu Yatha Pavivesha Mahavilam. Translation. Shri Shukadev Goswami said, accompanied by Bali Maharaj, my dear King Parikshit, Prahlad Maharaj, who is the master of all the chiefs of the demons, he took the Supreme Lord's order on his head with folded hands. After saying yes to the Lord, circumambulating him and offering him respectful obeisances, he entered the lower planetary system known as Sutala. So we see the behavior of Prahlad Maharaj receiving the order of Krishna, and Bali Maharaj was in that line from Prahlad Maharaj, and he was of the same quality as Prahlad Maharaj. He had received the mercy and the association and the blessings of Prahlad Maharaj. He immediately accepted the order and the instruction from Krishna. He did not put any argument or complaint. He was going to Sutala, which is considered a hellish planet, right? But he did not find out ahead of time, what will my accommodations be in that place? situated? What kind of room am I going to get? Like devotees, they call Brajhari, they say, what kind of room can I get? Before they decide whether they'll go or not. What accommodation will be there for me? Prahlad Maharaj is not asking. He just immediately accepting, yes, my Lord, He wants me to go to a hellish place. He doesn't know what is the quality of that place, or what is the intention of the Lord there. And still immediately he said yes. Another place, Prabhupada says that when you receive order from Krishna, or Krishna's devotee, then we should say immediately, yes sir. Like in the military, yes sir. That's how one should accept instruction from Krishna and from spiritual master. So Prahlad Maharaj is showing what is the mood, what is that level of surrender. There's no calculation of what that will mean to him, or what will his future be or hold. He's not making any material calculation because he's completely trusting Krishna, completely trusting the Lord, that He can only help me, He can only bring me into a better place. And we see how many tests that Prahlad Maharaj passed. In his father, that great demon trying to kill him. And so Prahlad Maharaj's experience was, my Lord, He has always helped me. He has always saved me. So that is his faith, and that is his experience. So because he has such faith and such wonderful experience, he can immediately say yes, whether he understands or doesn't understand. Sometimes it's very difficult to understand what is the intention of the Lord. Why is He doing what He's doing? Some persons may question. Why is the Lord treating Bali Maharaj like this? He's such a dear devotee of the Lord. Why is He putting him, Prabhupada says, in such difficult situation, in such difficult circumstances, that everything was taken from him? His position and all of his possessions. Ultimately, he was tied and wrapped in the ropes of Varuna. So this doesn't seem like such nice treatment of the Lord, that you can calculate that in the future you will say, yes sir. But the glory of Bali Maharaj is that what he promised the Lord, even he got cursed by his spiritual master, so-called spiritual master, Shuka Acharya, who said that if you give this, if you fulfill this desire of the Lord, I will curse you. And the result of that curse will be that you will lose everything material. And still, the glory of Bali Maharaj is that he did not question it, he did not hesitate. He immediately knew, this is what I must do, I have to do. Even I may lose everything. And ultimately, even he offered up his head. Even you can kill me. That is all right. Still, he remained steadfast and determined to surrender and to please the Lord and to render devotional service. So it is explained, Srila Prabhupada explains that sometimes Krishna, He puts His devotees in such a difficult situation. Prabhupada uses the word even unbearable condition. And other people may look and say, how is it that the Lord is taking care of him? That he's putting him in such an unbearable, practically you cannot survive it, Prabhupada says. This type of test, the Lord was testing him to show how much tolerance, how much patience, how much forbearance and determination Bali Maharaj had in the face of such incredible adversity and difficulty. And ultimately, Krishna, he wanted to glorify his devotee, to show the special nature and quality and level of bhakti and devotion that Krishna's devotee has. If anybody and everybody can do it, what is so special about that Vaishnava? Why are his glories spread all over the three worlds? If anybody and everybody can do it, then what is so extraordinary and special and wonderful about that Vaishnava? The Vaishnava always wants to glorify Krishna. He's not looking for his own self-promotion. He simply wants to please Krishna and wants to please Krishna's or his spiritual master. This is his happiness, this is his goal, this is his motivation. So Krishna, he wants to glorify his devotee. He's not interested in self-promotion, and his happiness is not. Even Krishna says that, you cannot please me so much by trying to glorify me or to serve me. I become more pleased and more satisfied when you serve my devotee, when you glorify my devotee. So this Prabhupada says some competition is there, that devotees always trying to glorify Krishna, but Krishna is always trying to glorify his devotee. So ultimately Krishna is doing many things at the same time, and sometimes it's very difficult to understand what is that. But we should trust and understand that Krishna, he always is our well-wisher, and he has an ultimate plan and design which is for the good of everybody. When the Lord came before Bali Maharaj and Shukracharya and other Brahmanas, it says that Bali Maharaj, he wanted to pay his obeisances. He wanted to show his love and respect to the Lord. But because he was in such an assembly with Shukracharya and other Brahmavadis, he could not. But in his mind, he was thinking, I just want to pay my respects to you, my obeisances to you, and I want to serve you, love you. And Srila Prabhupada explains that because Krishna is in the heart of all the living entities, then Krishna could understand what is the mood and the mentality and the desire of his devotee. Even just in his mind, he's thinking, I'm in such a situation that I cannot properly serve. I cannot properly give my respects and my obeisances to my Lord. But the Lord in the heart, he understood it and he heard it. And Prabhupada explains, and therefore Bali Maharaj got the same benefit as those pure devotees who are engaged fully and actively in process of bhakti, devotional service. So Krishna wanted to glorify Bali Maharaj, that even I'll take everything from him. This so-called curse was actually a blessing. Because Prabhupada explains that, and the Shastra explains that when we have so much wealth and position and power and opulence, come from aristocratic family, educated, the problem with that and why it becomes an impediment in bhakti and devotional service is because we become proud. We immediately become proud and we become arrogant because of this material opulence. Of course, for a pure devotee who has all of those things, Srila Prabhupada says he still does not become puffed up. Because he understands this all belongs to my Lord, he has bestowed it on me. It's simply, Prabhupada says, he just understands he's received the mercy of the Lord. And that whatever he has, whatever ability he has, whatever wealth of opulence he has, is meant to be used in Krishna's service. But for those who may be a little bit attached, and not so clear in their thinking or their motivation, that to show special mercy to that devotee. Srila Prabhupada explains that when Krishna sees a special devotee, especially one, Prabhupada says, who can preach, but that devotee is entangled in the family life and in business and making money and all of these things, then Krishna wants him. He wants to use him. So Krishna, he will take everything away from that devotee. And of course we understand that Srila Prabhupada is also referring to himself. Not that he was materially attached, but he was doing his duty and he was in Grihastha ashram and taking care of his family and engaged in business activities. And so Srila Prabhupada would always say that my spiritual master, he pulled me out. Prabhupada said I could have been millionaire, billionaire. And you see the intelligence and the ability and the charisma and the personality and the knowledge and the purity, all of the best qualities. And what Srila Prabhupada did, even spiritually, Prabhupada could have done that materially. He could have done it for self. But obviously Krishna wanted him. And Srila Prabhupada said that when he wanted to get married, he wanted to marry one beautiful girl. But his father, who was devotee of Srimati Radharani, said, no, don't marry that girl. You marry this one. So Srila Prabhupada, I think he didn't feel that she was so nice, so beautiful, so materially attractive. And ultimately, she sold Srila Prabhupada Srimad Bhagavatam for tea biscuits, which was the final straw. This is all the plan of the Lord, because he has an ultimate plan. That he wants his devotee to do what is the real work. What is the real business? And so Krishna, he takes everything away from that devotee. I know our Gurudev used to explain that when we have all of these things, money and education and position and a good family and beauty and strength and all of these things. Krishna, and it said his special mercy is he'll take everything away from you. He'll take your money, he'll take your health, he'll take your friends, he'll take your family, he'll take everything. And it's explained when everything is gone and nobody is there, then our pride and arrogance will be smashed. And then in that humble state of mind, Mahaprabhu says, Trinada Pisanichena, Taro Yivasavishna, Amanina Natena Ketanya Sadahadi. In a humble state of mind, more humble than blade of grass lying on the street. This type of utter humility and being tolerant like a tree. Bali Maharaj tolerated so much. He tolerated everything. And being respectful and paying respects to everybody, not demanding any respect for yourself. This is the state of mind. It says you should wear that verse like garland around your neck. Because without understanding that, without being in that state of mind, you cannot chant Hare Krishna properly. You cannot properly execute devotional service or bhakti. So the special mercy from Krishna and why the curse of Shukra Acharya is seen as such a blessing was that everything now, all distractions, all apparent attachments and material activities were finished. And now that soul, without all of that distraction and attachment, can completely dedicate himself in devotional service. Bali Maharaj, he's such a devotee, he's a Mahajana. One of the 12 Mahajanas. This is not ordinary personality. He could perform devotional service in the best of conditions and in the worst of conditions. He could perform it steadily, having everything. And he could perform it steadily, having nothing. And that is the glory of Bali Maharaj, that is the glory of Vaishnava. Now ultimately Bali Maharaj, although it looks for some time that he lost everything, his post, his position, his wealth, his followers, everything, and he's bound by the ropes, and such a humble, humiliating type of situation he found himself in. But ultimately, he passed the test. He showed how much devotion, how much dedication, how much forbearance, how much faith he had in the Lord in the process of bhakti. And therefore the Lord, he's glorified in Srimad Bhagavatam for eternity. And is named as one of 12 Mahajanas. This was the Lord's plan. And it says, what is it? Whether you handle me roughly by your embrace, or you leave me broken-hearted, by not being present before me, still, you are my Lord. You are the Ishtadev of my heart. And I can never leave you. I will never leave you. There is no other shelter. There is no other protection. So Krishna is glorifying his Vaishnava. And then he's charging Shukra Acharya. What fault did he have? What was his fault? maybe apparently it looks like there's some discrepancy there. But he did it for me. He did it because I asked him to do it. Even to the point that he's willing to reject his spiritual master. Because he understood he's not getting proper guidance and instruction from that Shuka Acharya. He understood that that guidance and instruction was opposite of what the Lord was asking him to do. And he could understand that this is directly in conflict with the will and the desire of Krishna. So even he rejected his own spiritual master when he understood that he's stopping me from being able to move forward and to execute the will and the desire of Krishna. And he's criticized for that. How you can reject your spiritual master. So the Lord is coming as the defender and protector of his devotee and saying to Shukacharya, what was his fault? He pleased me. He gave everything. There's nothing more he can give. Bali Maharaja's anxiety was, the Lord took everything in 2 steps. Then he's in a quandary. He's in a dilemma. That means that I could not fulfill my promise and what I said I will give. So he's looking, he says, I don't have anything else to give him. Okay? Then you put your lotus foot on my head. You kill me then. Take this body. Such as Bali Maharaja. So I'll end there. If anyone has any realization or question, you may say, please, help me. Prachari Guru. I don't know so much, but this thing when I read, this thing jumped out at me. And ultimately, Bali Maharaj, he got 100,000 times more and better and wonderful than you can even imagine what he gave up. So what are we afraid of? Those things which are killing us in our spiritual life, which are distracting us in our bhakti, those are anartha, those are unwanted things. So Krishna's mercy is he sees we're struggling. Yes, this soul wants to surrender to me. He wants to serve me properly. He wants to have love for me. But he's troubled. He's distracted. He's attached. And he cannot even help himself to get free from that condition. But if the soul cries to Krishna, even once, and says, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it says, even one time that soul says, crying from the heart before the Lord, from this day on, I am yours. For so long I have been serving Maya. I have been Maya Das so many lifetimes. Now somehow, by good fortune, and maybe the heavy lashes of Maya, I don't want to be Maya Das anymore. I want to now become Krishna Das. If Krishna can understand and hear the true cry of the soul in the heart, then Krishna says in Chaitanya Charitamrita, from that moment I will take a vow how to protect my devotee. and he will think how to help us. We are helpless. We are hopeless on our own. We have no real qualification. We have no background. We don't have proper bhakti sukriti. We don't even have any sukriti. Prabhupada says, I'm creating your sukriti. By engaging you in bhakti, I'm creating your good fortune or your sukriti. It's Kali Yuga, most degraded age, so contaminated place, the place of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says the cheaters and the cheated. This is the prison house. So how can we reach our goal? It's impossible. How can such unqualified, degraded persons who've committed sinful activities for thousands and thousands of times is now thinking that I want to develop Krishna Bhakti, Prem Bhakti? Is that unbelievable? Is that, who can say that? That the most fallen person is saying, I want the highest thing. So on our own, it is said, it's impossible. You cannot do on your own. We do not have the strength or the devotion or the intelligence to be able to do it. But the impossible can become possible with the mercy of Sri Guru and Krishna, Sri Guru Suranga. The impossible can become possible. Sometimes devotees pray, Krishna, I can't even help myself. Please help me to even help myself, because it says God helps those who help themselves. But what if we can't even help ourselves? What if we're so weak and fallen? Help me, Lord, to help myself, to do what is required of me, so that you will be pleased with me, so that you will shower your mercy on me. Then I have some hope that I can make it, that I can survive it, and come out successful. So this prayer, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Srila Gurudeva ki, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki. Oh, Premanande. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Maharaj ki. Prabhupada Srila Gurudeva ki. Mahaprasad ki. Thank you for your patience. I appreciate it.